Hey learners, welcome back to another video. In this lesson, we'll learn about osmosis, a specific type of diffusion that takes place in the living cells of plants and animals. If you've ever stayed in a bathtub or a swimming pool for a long time, you'll notice your palms get all wrinkly. Also, have you observed how farmers and plant owners are careful with how much water their plants get? For example, if you leave your house plant without water for a week, it starts to get droopy and sad. But a few moments after you water it, all the leaves look vibrant and alive. All these things happen because of, you guessed it, osmosis. By the end of this video, you'll know what osmosis is, how it works, and why it's a big deal for all living things. Let's start with a simple definition. Osmosis is the movement of a solvent, usually water, across a selectively permeable membrane. Now, that seems like a big word, but no worries. A selectively permeable membrane is just a barrier that acts as a filter. It lets water molecules pass through but blocks bigger molecules like sugar or salt molecules. These bigger molecules are called solutes. The movement of water isn't random. Water always moves from an area where there is a lot of it. This place is called an area of high water concentration to an area where there is less of it, low water concentration. So, we can simply say that osmosis is the movement of solvents across a selectively permeable membrane from an area with high water concentration to an area with low water concentration. This movement continues until the concentration is balanced on both sides. When osmosis happens, water moves down its concentration gradient. Let's look at osmosis from the solute angle. A place that has a high water concentration has less solute than the place with low water concentration. This means we can also define osmosis as the movement of solvent molecules across a selectively permeable membrane from an area of low solute concentration to an area of high solute concentration. Osmosis isn't just about water moving across a membrane. It's also about the environment that water is moving in. The type of solution that surrounds a cell will decide whether the cell swells up like a balloon, shrinks like a raisin, or stays perfectly balanced. That is why to really understand the importance and impact of osmosis, we first need to look at the different kinds of solutions. There are three different kinds of solutions that concern the cell, and they are a hypotonic solution, a hypertonic solution, and an isotonic solution. A hypertonic solution is any external solution with a high solute concentration and low water concentration compared to the cell fluids. In a hypertonic solution, the net movement of water is out of the body of the cell and into the solution. A cell placed in a hypertonic solution shrivels and dies by a process known as plasmolysis. We can see this play out when a plant is placed in a dry soil or when a raisin is aired out in the sun. A hypotonic solution is any external solution with a low solute concentration and high water concentration compared to the cell's fluids. In a hypotonic solution, there is a net water movement from the solution into the cell. A cell placed into a hypotonic solution swells up and expands until it eventually bursts through the process known as cytolysis. Finally, an isotonic solution is any external solution with the same solute and water concentrations as the cell's fluids. In an isotonic solution, there is no net movement of water. Let's use an example to better understand how different environments affect the cell. To really see osmosis in action, let's talk about my houseplant, Carlos. Yesterday, I came home and Carlos looked so sad. I forgot to water him. And this caused the soil to become super dry. This created a hypertonic environment. So, following the rules of osmosis, water moved out of Carlos' roots into the dry soil, moving down its concentration gradient. Poor Carlos. This loss of water made his cells go limp, causing him to wilt. This process in plant cells is called plasmolysis. But don't worry, there's a happy ending to this story. When I noticed this, I gave him a good drink of water. Suddenly, the soil was full of water. This flipped the script. Now, the soil was a hypotonic solution, meaning it had a higher water concentration than the cells in Carlos' roots. Osmosis kicked in and water rushed from the soil into the plant's root cells to balance things out. As Carlos' cells filled with water, they became firm or turgid. Just like that, he was back. Thanks to osmosis. That movement of water is driven by something called osmotic pressure. You can think of it as the pulling force a solution has to draw water in. Carlos cells had a higher osmotic pressure, so they pulled water right in. Osmosis is everywhere. It isn't just about plants. Osmosis is critical in so many areas. We can see this in medicine and even in agriculture. In medicine, hospital IV drips are isotonic. This is because if they were hypotonic, they would pull water out of the red blood cells and make them shrink. And if they were hypotonic, the cells would swell up and burst. In food preservation, adding lots of salt or sugar creates a hypertonic environment that pulls water out from the cells of any pesky bacteria or mold, stopping them from growing. Alright, let's see what we've learned so far. Osmosis is the movement of water across a selectively permeable membrane. Water always moves from an area of high water concentration to an area of low water concentration. This movement is essential for keeping cells in balance, helping plants to stand tall, and is even used in medical treatments and food preservation. Now, a question to test your knowledge. If you put a fresh carrot stick in a glass filled with salt overnight, what do you think will happen to the carrot? Leave your answer in the comments section below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Well, that's all for now. We'll see you in the next video.